Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Accelerate Your Performance podcast. I'm Dr. Janet Pilcher, the host of this podcast and the founder and president of Student Education. Effective leaders work to continuously build an environment in which people can thrive. In education, building this kind of environment empowers employees and students alike to feel supported, heard, and engaged. Adam Bowen, my guest today, has worked hard to build this kind of environment, not just because he wants employees and students to be successful, but also because he is a product of the district he is now leading. So he is committed to ensuring the environment he builds strengthens the community that built him. Adam serves as superintendent of New Buffalo area schools and has dedicated more than 20 years to education. A graduate of the New Buffalo area schools in Michigan himself, he's passionate about giving students the same opportunities that helped shape his own success. Guided by the motto, every student, every day, Mr. Bowen is committed to ensuring every student receives the support, opportunities, and encouragement needed to succeed. During his career, Adam was recognized as Michigan Principal of the Year in 2022. And under his leadership, the district has earned several notable recognitions, including National Blue Ribbon School Honors for both New Buffalo High School and New Buffalo Elementary School, designation as Michigan's most innovative district by the Michigan Association for Computer Users and Learning, and recognition as the state's only district with both its middle and high schools named Michigan Green Schools in 2026. He remains committed to providing high-quality educational opportunities while supporting innovation, student achievement, and strong partnerships with the community. I'm thrilled to have Adam on the show today. It's with great pleasure that I welcome Adam to our show today. Adam, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this. And I'm going to start with the wins in your district. I know you've seen a lot of wins as you've gone through your district's continuous improvement journey. So talk a little bit about the results and what you've been focusing on, Adam.
Sure. When it comes to wins, I think there's a lot of different aspects that play into having some wins here. And, a couple of things that kind of stand out to me, even from being in the principal position to the superintendent, I think it's about getting the right people in the right positions. Right now, we have a cabinet, and that cabinet team is kind of aligned with our mission and our vision, along with our district goals. And, it's all about that improvement work. So I believe when people believe in your mission and in the goals that were created together, it's key because then it'll be executed and very well.
Yeah.
So, another thing that comes to mind is leading with clear expectations and having conversations when the expectations are not being met. I think that's critical. I think most of the time people want to meet or exceed your expectations that you have set. So therefore, being very clear with them is important and people will rise to the occasion. But, when it comes to improvement work, I think that's where student education really helps out. And what comes to mind is the surveys. We've been doing surveys for quite a bit with our parents, our students, and then also with our employees. But one of the most powerful things, I think, is the survey rollout and having your cabinet or your directors or principals rolling out the survey results with their staff. So that actually shows that you're doing something with those results. A lot of times we take surveys, right? And you take the survey and you don't really hear much from it. So for me, it's sitting down with your staff and taking a look at areas that you're doing well with and celebrating those areas, but then also taking a hard look at some of the areas you need to improve upon, and then gathering all the ways that you can improve in those areas with your team. And your team is building that with you. And I think that goes a long way. And when your team feels part of the plan or the process, there's more buy-in. And I think the execution then goes very, very well.
Yeah, that's so good. As we think about surveys, we've surveyed all our lives almost, but it's just what do we do with the data and have good conversations. I always say the data helps us have good engaged conversations. And those conversations are really what help us drive improvement, which is what you're referring to. And as a talk with your coach, Brent, your net promoter score on your employee engagement survey has really climbed. He was sharing with me that. So talk a little bit more, like, what have you done? What's made that really jump?
For me, I personally think it's rounding. Rounding was a new thing that was introduced a couple of years ago, and now we're rounding with purpose. I
Mhm.
felt like maybe in the beginning, people were kind of just going through the motions. We're rounding because my boss tells me to round, but now I do think people see the value of it. And especially, I think what brought us to the next level is when we introduced the 321 reports and we
Yes.
share all those reports out with our stakeholders that are part of that rounding process. It gives them that big global perspective of where we're at with rounding and some next steps of where we need to go. For me, it's some of those quick wins. For example, there wasn't a phone in our conference room at the elementary school, and I was rounding with my special ed coordinator, and she brought that up in our rounding. I'm like, oh, well, that's an easy win because if you're doing IEP meetings and the parent can't make it, you need that speakerphone. So I was able to get with our tech person, and immediately they got that in there, and she was so thankful for that, and that was a quick, easy win. Another area is DocuSign. We were needing some signatures for parents, and we weren't able to get them into the building. So someone in a rounding session brought up, hey, it'd be very helpful and to get us that DocuSign. And we did that, and that was an easy, quick win.
Yeah.
So I think when people see those things that
Yes.
you're rounding, you're listening to the people, and then you're actually doing something, it goes a long way.
Yeah, I love the examples because Adam, one of the things too, I think we find is sometimes people say, well, what if they ask for all these big things? I said they usually don't. They ask for things that are really simple. I think you're finding that too,
Yep,
you
very
know,
much so. Yeah.
and it makes a difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And like I said, I think people then feel like, wow, they really do care. They're listening and they're meeting the needs and they want me to be more efficient in my job so I can do my job better.
Yeah. So good. And speaking of care, one of the things I've also heard about you is that you care about people and you also set high expectations, and you referred to that a few minutes ago. So, talk about, Adam, how these two things work hand in hand and how you can have high expectations and still show that care and concern for people.
Well, I think having high expectations does mean that you care for them. I think not only for myself, I have high expectations for myself, but I have it for other people. And our kids deserve the best, and we can't wait to be the best for them. I mean, we only get them in short period of times. It might be a trimester, it might be a year, so we don't have any time to waste for our kids. But caring too much is probably one of my downfalls,
Mm.
especially, being from a school district in which you went through your K-12
Oh, wow.
experience. It's a small town, so you get to
Yeah.
know people in a different lens. So that also adds a whole different level of care, and you want to do what's best for your district. But you also see how hard our educators work and the countless hours that they put in. So it's easy to go to bat for people and care for them. But at the end of the day, it goes back to also having those high expectations, being clear, not afraid to have difficult conversations. And then when all that's in place, there's not a lot of guessing from your people. So it's easy for them to follow those high expectations.
Yeah, and I go back to something that you said a few minutes ago, which I thought was so good. People usually like to rise to those expectations. Most people do, Adam. I love what you said a few minutes ago because there are always those that don't. But for the most part, the majority of the people, when they know what we expect of them, they want that and they rise to that occasion. So just appreciate what you do and building that within your system, and how cool it is for you to be able to give back to your community in the way that you are, because you've been part of that community, and I'm sure that has a special place in your heart.
It sure does.
So let's talk a little bit about one of the areas that have really focused attention for us in the work is alignment. And you talked about really pulling your executive team together. They're mission driven. Why was the effort in terms of aligning your district and aligning people important to you? And what steps are you building to continue with aligning your leadership and your leaders together?
Yeah, I think about when Brent showed there are three big arrows in our PD that we do. And in those three big arrows, the one to the left, the arrows, and there's little arrows pointing inside the big arrow, and they're all in a different direction. And then when you go to look at the big middle arrow, the arrows are starting to align. And then finally on the right, the arrows are all pointing in the same direction. I definitely felt like I was all the way on the left my first year as superintendent. I felt that our arrows were not going in the same direction as a team. And part of it was because we didn't really have a strategic plan. We didn't have common goals in place. And then through the work over the years, by not only establishing our strategic plan, but then having scorecards and then having building and department scorecards, everyone could see how their work was aligned to the big work. And so it wasn't that it was just the district. It was like, wow, we're all working together to meet these common goals. So for me, that was the biggest thing. And obviously that took many years to get in place. So, but it's the huge difference in working as a team together.
Yeah, and it does take time, Adam, but through those stair steps of time and the rounding and the survey rollout process, you're getting those good results, those many results right along the way. That's kind of what, when we look at the flywheel and keep the flywheel spinning, those little mini results really help us keep that buy-in and keep that focused attention. So I love the conversation today because you're talking about here are the things that we've consistently done that are helping build the culture of our organization and helping people become better at what they do. And we're also building that systems alignment piece, and they're going hand in hand, walking down that path. So good in terms of what you've been able to do leading that journey. So thank you for what you're doing there. So let's close today with a little bit of reflection. If you could go back in time and give yourself some advice as you began this intentional continuous improvement journey work, what advice would you give yourself, and what have you learned that you wish you would have known then?
Sure. I think for me, it's when you're in the thick of it, you don't necessarily see those immediate results. I hear all the time that you need to go slow to go fast, but I think in education and being a superintendent, you always want to go fast. And for me personally, everything's too slow. So, and that can bother me, but you hear about that it takes 3 to 5 years for implementation and change to see the fruit of your labors. That was hard for me to really grasp, but I guess if I had to go back in time, now that we're about 4 years in that improvement cycle, we are seeing that change. And my advice would be you do have to go slow. There are things working and we're making improvement, even though you don't really see them right then and there. So yeah, just give it time and be patient, I guess would be my advice to myself.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's just chiseling away and taking those small steps at a time. And my guess is that you may feel that pressure to move faster, but the people who are a part of your organization are seeing good wins every day along the way. And that's what's keeping them going because of the work that you're doing. I just so appreciate you, so appreciate your partnership. Glad I got a chance to connect with you today and look forward to hopefully meeting you in person sometime.
Yep, thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. And I believe in Studer, and I think Studer does a lot of great work for continuous improvement. So thank you.
Okay, all right. One of the things that I appreciate about Adam is his commitment to his community. And this commitment is so evident in his care and concern for education, particularly for employees and for students. This theme of care and concern for people was so clear in my conversation with him. And he shared so many ways that he shows care and concern, like setting clear expectations, elevating the voices of all, listening and responding to employee needs, having high expectations, and showing people how their work contributes to the goals. That's evidence of how Adam leads by showing care and concern. And sometimes our efforts at showing care come in unexpected ways, like having difficult conversations. But when people know we genuinely care and are committed to them, they feel safe and are more willing to invest themselves in their work. People just want to know they are valued and that their work matters. Leaders like Adam provide that in such meaningful ways. When people know they are cared for, and when leaders demonstrate that care, a strong work environment is built. Like Adam said, this environment isn't built overnight. It takes time, and it happens one caring act at a time. So this week, intentionally share acts of care and concern, even if they come in unexpected ways, and watch people respond positively. Employees and students alike feel supported and heard, and they will engage more fully when they do. Our students and employees deserve this kind of environment, and they will be ready to invest themselves in their work and do their best. As we begin our school year, let's enter the year thinking about ways that we can intentionally apply care and concern for the students, their families, and the people who come to work every day to serve. Have a great week, everyone.